You know what we really need more of? Psychology. Not the textbook kind. I'm talking about real understanding of human nature, of ourselves. Because let's be honest, the biggest danger to this world is us, humans. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you're not who you think you are? That the thoughts in your head, the decisions you make, the things you crave, they might not even be yours. Now hold up, I'm not talking conspiracy theories here. This is real. This is psychology. And if there's one name you absolutely need to know to understand what's really going on inside your mind, it's Carl Gustav Jung. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of making the same mistakes, messing up your relationships, feeling like something invisible keeps dragging you down, even when things seem to be going fine? What if I told you it might not be bad luck, it might be your shadow, or archetypes, or the collective unconscious inside you begging to be heard? You're about to find out what all of that means and why it matters. Because here's the truth. Ignoring these hidden parts of your mind is like walking blindfolded across a minefield. You will get hurt. You'll repeat the same cycles. You'll suffer. And worst of all, you'll blame fate or bad timing or other people. But the real problem is inside. Carl Jung wasn't just another psychologist. He wasn't in it to fix symptoms or help people fit in with a broken society. He went deeper, way deeper. He stared straight into the abyss of the human psyche and then dove headfirst. What he found down there? It changed psychology forever.
Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875. He grew up surrounded by religious symbols, ancient rituals, and an atmosphere of mystery and silence. From a young age, he sensed that there was more to human life, something beyond logic or language. No surprise then, he eventually became the brightest student of Sigmund Freud. But more importantly, he was also the one who dared to challenge him. See, Freud had this theory that most human behavior comes down to repressed sexual desires, that everything we think and feel is basically a reaction to those urges being pushed down. But Jung, he saw something else. He looked past the individual and saw depth, archetypes, symbols, myths, a force that wasn't just personal, but collective. While Freud was focused on our immediate pasts, Jung looked back thousands of years. He touched something ancient, our shared psychological roots. That difference, it tore their partnership apart. But Jung didn't care. He wasn't in it for approval. He wasn't trying to cure people just to make them more productive citizens. He wanted to help people reconnect with their essence. To him, the psyche wasn't just a machine. It was alive, dynamic, full of opposites, light and dark, logic and emotion, masculine and feminine. And when we suffer, Jung believed, it's not because life went wrong. It's because something inside us is begging for transformation. So he created something revolutionary, analytical psychology. Not a method to erase your flaws, but a path to understand them, to integrate the parts of yourself you've rejected or buried. Because for Jung, the real enemy wasn't pain, it was unconsciousness. Chapter 2. Why it still matters today. So why should any of this matter now? Because the world hasn't changed as much as we think. We still fall into the same self-destructive loops. We still numb our emotions. We still avoid pain. And Jung saw it coming. He predicted a world where people would be disconnected, anxious, and spiritually lost. He also gave us a map. Not a shortcut, not a pill, not a how to be happy in 5 steps. He gave us the tools to look inward, to understand why we feel so lost, and more importantly, what we can do about it. And one of the most mind-blowing things Jung discovered is this: there's a part of your mind that isn't even yours, a layer that's older, deeper, and more powerful than your personal thoughts and memories. He called it the collective unconscious.
Okay, imagine this. Your conscious mind is like a small island. Everything you've been through, your memories, your upbringing, your traumas, that's the land. But underneath, there's an entire ocean, vast, deep, and shared by all human beings. That's the collective unconscious. In that ocean, there are ancient symbols, images, and patterns that have existed for thousands of years. These are universal stories, archetypes, that live inside all of us. Ever wonder why cultures across the globe created similar myths and stories, even though they had no contact with each other? Stories about heroes, wise mentors, monsters, journeys, and rebirth? That's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of the architecture of the human soul. Jung believed that behind every emotion, every decision, every fear, there's an archetypal pattern at play. When you're afraid of being left behind, you're not just reacting to one moment, you're touching an ancient fear. When you long to belong or push yourself to grow, you're moving through patterns that humanity has carried for ages. And here's the kicker. Even if you ignore it, it still affects you. The collective unconscious doesn't go away just because you pretend it's not there. It shows up in your dreams, in your relationships, in the kinds of movies and stories that make you cry or give you goosebumps. It shows up in your habits, your cravings, your self-sabotage. If you don't understand it, you're living with blinders on, being pushed and pulled by forces you don't even see. But Jung gave those forces a name. Let's get real for a second. Have you ever done something and thought, why the hell did I just do that? Maybe you blew up on someone out of nowhere. Maybe you felt a surge of jealousy you didn't expect. Maybe you sabotaged something good in your life and had no idea why. That's your shadow. Carl Jung believed that every single one of us has a dark side. Not evil in the Hollywood sense, but a side of ourselves that we hide, reject, or deny. The shadow is made up of the parts of you you don't want to admit exist. Your insecurities, your rage, your envy, your cravings, your need for control, your fear of being vulnerable. And the more you ignore it, the more power it has. Most of us build an identity around being the good one, the responsible one, the nice one. So when anger shows up, or resentment, or pride, we push it down. We say, that's not me. But here's the truth. It is you. It's just the part of you that never got a seat at the table. And it doesn't go away. It gets stored in the basement of your mind. It watches, it waits, and eventually it bursts out in ways you can't control. Think about it. That voice that says you're not good enough, shadow. That moment you lash out at someone and regret it instantly, shadow. That pattern you can't break even though you know better, shadow. And the scarier part? The more good you try to be, the more dangerous your shadow becomes. Why? Because you don't recognize it as part of you. So you project it onto others. You start blaming the world, your partner, your boss, society, anyone but yourself. Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So how do we deal with it? You don't destroy your shadow. You can't. What you can do is face it, understand it, integrate it. Because hidden inside your shadow is something powerful, raw energy, creativity, passion, strength.
But you only unlock it if you're willing to do the hard work of self-honesty. And that brings us to one of the most important concepts in Jung's work. Most people spend their whole lives trying to be what others want. They try to be perfect sons or daughters, perfect spouses, perfect employees, perfect whatever. They bend, they shrink, they silence parts of themselves just to be accepted. But deep down, they feel it. Something's missing. That missing feeling, that's the soul calling out. That's the inner self saying, hey, you've forgotten who you are. Carl Jung called the process of finding your way back individuation. Now don't get it twisted. Individuation isn't a buzzword. It's not some Instagram quote like, be your best self. No, it's way harder than that. Individuation is the journey of becoming whole. It means breaking down the fake version of yourself, what Jung called the persona, the mask you wear to survive, and discovering who you really are underneath. It means facing your shadow head-on, not to judge it, but to integrate it, to own it, to say, yes, this is also me. It means recognizing that you are both light and dark, courage and fear, generous and selfish, all of it. And the goal isn't to pick a side, it's to hold all of it together and say, this is me in my full complexity. Now here's what most people don't realize. This process hurts a lot. Why? Because you have to let go of the identity you've been clinging to for years. You have to stop blaming your parents, your past, your ex, your boss. You have to take responsibility for your own life. You have to stop living to be liked and start living to be whole. Individuation doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds through breakdowns, losses, tough decisions. Every time a part of your old self dies, something more real is born in its place, but only if you're brave enough to face the discomfort. Jung once said, the encounter with the self is always a defeat for the ego. And he was right. Most people would rather stay numb than go there. But for those who do, the reward is freedom. Because when you stop pretending, when you integrate what you've denied, when you reconnect with the parts of your soul that were buried, you stop living someone else's life and start living your true one.
Here's something wild. Your soul is talking to you every single night. It just doesn't use words. It uses symbols. While most of modern society treats dreams like random nonsense, Jung believed dreams are the voice of the unconscious. They're not junk. They're not static. They're messages, warnings, invitations, sometimes even alarms. Think about it. Why do you dream of falling when your life feels out of control? Why do you keep having that same strange dream over and over? Why do you wake up shaken from a nightmare only to realize it somehow reflects exactly what you're going through? This is your psyche trying to bring you back into balance. Jung saw dreams as a kind of internal compass. When your conscious mind strays too far from your true self, your unconscious sends up signals through images, metaphors, archetypes. But most of us, we ignore them. And when we ignore the language of the soul for too long, things start to fall apart. We lose direction, we lose meaning, we get anxious, depressed, disconnected, and we don't even know why. Dreams are not just your brain processing the day, they're your inner world trying to restore harmony. And once you learn to listen, they become powerful tools for healing. For example, a house in a dream might represent your inner self. A snake could mean transformation or rebirth. A ladder might symbolize personal growth or a descent into the unconscious, depending on which direction you're going. A mirror? That could be your shadow looking right back at you.
Jung believed that ignoring your dreams was like ignoring the only compass you've got while walking through a dark forest. So, start paying attention. Write your dreams down, reflect on them. Ask yourself, what is this image trying to tell me? What part of me is trying to speak? Because those symbols, those strange scenes that make no sense at first glance, are actually the soul in dialogue with itself.
Let's be honest. Sometimes you act in ways that even you don't understand. You overreact, you shrink, you people please. You chase after the same type of toxic partner over and over again. You know it's a bad idea, and yet you do it anyway. So here's the real question. Who's really in charge? According to Carl Jung, there are ancient, universal forces that live inside your psyche. He called them archetypes, and they're not just ideas. They're living patterns, inner characters, and they're way more powerful than you think. Archetypes are part of the collective unconscious, which means you were born with them. You didn't learn them. They've always been there. They're like blueprints for how humans feel, act, and relate. They shape your behavior, your emotions, even your stories. They're why so many people across time and cultures tell of the same kinds of stories with the same kinds of characters. The hero, the wise old mentor, the trickster, the villain, the mother, the monster, the child. They're not just roles in fairy tales, they're inside you. Let me give you a few examples. The hero archetype is that part of you that wants to overcome challenges, push forward, prove something. It's noble, but if you're not careful, it can push you to the brink of burnout or self-destruction. The wounded child is the part that craves love, fears rejection, and keeps looking for someone to make them feel safe. The anima, feminine energy in men, and animus, masculine energy in women, represent the unconscious opposite within us, parts that, if ignored, leave us emotionally unbalanced or trapped in one-sided identities. And of course, the shadow, as we've already talked about, is the part you deny, but it's also an archetype with incredible intensity. Here's the thing. When an archetype is unconscious, it possesses you. That's not just metaphor. Jung believed that an unintegrated archetype could literally hijack your mind, take over your choices, your emotions, your relationships. Ever feel like you're stuck playing a role, acting out a story that doesn't feel like yours? You probably are. Maybe you're caught in the savior complex, always trying to rescue others and forgetting yourself. Maybe you're stuck as the victim, always blaming others and never reclaiming your own power. Or maybe the rebel archetype is so loud in you that you destroy good things just because you can't stand the idea of being controlled? Whatever it is, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're just unconscious of what's driving you. The good news is, once you start recognizing these internal forces, you can stop being just another character and start being the author of your story.
Now here's the part that gets real. We live in a time where people are more anxious, more disconnected, more confused than ever before. We've got access to more information than any other generation, and somehow we still feel lost. Carl Jung saw it coming. He warned that as we become more modern, more rational, more tech-obsessed, we risk losing touch with something vital, our soul. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how successful you are, how many followers you have, or how together your life looks from the outside. You'll still feel empty, because deep down, the human soul doesn't care about likes or hustle culture or productivity metrics. It wants meaning. It wants connection. It wants integration.
And when that need is ignored, that's when things fall apart. That's when depression shows up, or burnout, or an addiction that hits you like a truck and forces you to stop and ask, who the hell am I really? Jung's ideas offer something that self-help books and quick fixes don't. He doesn't promise you happiness. He doesn't give you a 5-step plan to fix your life. What he offers is the truth. The truth that your problems aren't just problems, they're messages. The truth that your suffering has meaning. The truth that the only way out is through. Jung's work isn't for people who want comfort. It's for people who want freedom.
Let's bring this full circle. You've spent your whole life trying to be normal, trying to be strong, trying to be liked, and somewhere along the way, you started to lose touch with who you really are. You stopped listening to your dreams. You buried your pain. You wore the mask. You chased goals that weren't even yours. And now, maybe there's a voice inside you whispering, "Wake up." That voice, that's yourself. And here's the truth. Nothing you've experienced has been meaningless. The pain, the patterns, the confusion, it's all part of the journey back to yourself. So if you're here, if this video found you, maybe it's not an accident. Jung believed that even our so-called random encounters are orchestrated by the unconscious, that something deep inside you brought you here for a reason. You don't have to understand everything right now. You don't need to decode every dream or name every archetype. But you do need to make a choice. A choice to stop running, to stop pretending, to stop waiting for life to fix itself from the outside, and instead to go inward, to face what you've been avoiding, to reclaim the parts of yourself you've abandoned, to step into the wholeness that's been waiting for you this whole time. You're not broken, you're just disconnected. And the path forward isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you already are before the world told you to hide it. So here's what I want you to do. If something in this video hit home, drop a comment. Tell me what part of you got shaken up, which truth hit the hardest, which piece of your shadow are you ready to face? Because the moment you bring something from unconscious to conscious, you've already started the healing. And if this was the beginning of something for you, don't stop here. The next video will take you deeper, because once the soul is awake, it doesn't go back to sleep. This is just the beginning. See you in the next one.